Hi, welcome to the YouTube Commentary Cafe. How may I help you?
I just want attention! Ah! I do want attention. Please. Please!
Coming right up, I fucking guess. Hi, and welcome to my first foray into commentary on this channel. I say that because I had an old YouTube channel and I went after Onision a few times, but aside from that, this hasn't really been my genre. And also, he fucking deserved it. I have a microphone now. Also, that's another reason why I'm doing this. It's gonna be awkward. Everything's bad when you start out. Everything's bad at first. We're all just gonna get over it. We're all just gonna what, Gabbie?
Manage your expectations.
But anyway, I want to discuss this Gabbie Hanna situation because it's been such a wild ride. And I've been trying to make this video for a few days, but it seems like every day there's a new thing happening with her. So Gabbie Hanna, if you don't know her, you know her. That's why you clicked on this, but whatever. Gabbie Hanna's been a polarizing figure on YouTube for just about as long as she's been on YouTube. She is a massive creator. She has got 5 million subscribers on YouTube and a pretty staggering 7 million followers on TikTok. She started on Vine, she moved over to YouTube, and since then she has released several songs, as well as published 2 poetry books, Adultolescence and Dandelion, and that's where our story begins, fam. I do want to preface this video by saying that I personally have never been on the Gabbie Hanna hate train. I would not say I am a fan of Gabbie Hanna, but I would absolutely say that I do passively enjoy her content. I like her podcast. I like that she gets just a little bit too high to properly interact with her guests. I think this song right here is a whole bop. I'm such a mess, you don't even know the half of it. I must confess, I'm a catchy. She wrote it for Trisha Paytas, I guess. And then they had their falling out, so she did it herself. It might have been better as a Trisha song, but it's a bop nonetheless. Try to get my best, but you almost have to laugh at it. I also really like the videos on her second channel where she just gets high in her hot tub and talks about nothing. There's just something fascinating about Gabbie Hanna, and like on a personal note, as someone with the exact same mental health diagnosis that she has, I do find her relatable where other people might not find her relatable. I can also relate to what it's like being a creative person struggling with mental health problems. It's hard. That said though, a bitch is in the wrong and I would very much like to discuss it. Also, when I say bitch, I don't mean it in an aggressive, gendered way. I mean it very much in a gender neutral way. For instance, when Onision went after Strange Aeons for not liking his book, he was being a bitch. So nobody come at me for that one, all right? Anyway, there are a lot of layers to this story, and I think the best way to do it would be to break it up into 3 segments. So the timeline, the mental health discussion, the conclusion. I guess this part is the prologue. It's a learning curve. Also, I'm a millennial, so I'm dead ass looking at myself in my phone and not at the camera. I'm sorry, that's something I need to learn. Let's go. Let's go. Before we officially dive into segment 1, I'd like to take a moment to go over Gabbie Hanna's official criticism acceptance checklist just to see whether or not I'm qualified to be making this video in the first place.
She's not a f***ing artist. I don't care about her f***ing opinion because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people.
Okay, so I'm a comedian and I'm a songwriter, and I do get paid for it. So I will give myself artist, and I will give myself talented as well. Not to toot my own horn, but
Beep the fucking beep.
So now we have like intellectual versus smart, and I to me, an intellectual is someone who is very studious, very book smart, if you will, does their homework not because they have to, but because they want to, because they're interested in the topic. That's not me. That ain't me. I'm sorry, but I'm quick with a joke or to light up a smoke. There's some place that I'd rather be. So I'm gonna give myself smart. I'm good with like wordplay and improv and stuff like that. We're quick up here. It's the ADHD. We're quick up here. Yeah, I will give myself smart, even though sometimes my brain very much likes to wander into dumb bitch territory. Like, if I have to put a piece of furniture together, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry and it's not gonna get put together, and I'm gonna call someone to help me. So anyway, while I do not meet all criteria on the checklist, I'd say 3 out of 4 ain't bad, let's do this. So all of this starts about a year ago when a book reviewer on YouTube, Rachel Oates, uploaded a video called Gabbie Hanna's Poetry is Bad. But the title really is the meanest thing about the video. Rachel's good. Rachel can analyze the shit out of a poem, dude. It's crazy. Her analysis is so in-depth. And throughout the video, she gives examples of like, okay, I can see what you were trying to do here. It doesn't really work. Here's a poem that did it effectively. You know, learn from that. Yeah, Rachel's critique was harsh, but it was very valid and quite constructive. And Rachel did post several videos about the first book, Adultolescence. And I think that it is important to note that book review channels aren't really the same as traditional commentary channels. It's not unusual for a book review channel to dedicate several videos to the same book because it's a book. There's so much to work through, and nobody wants to sit through like a 4-hour video, so they'll divide it up. So then about 2 years later, hello, it's editing me. I meant that there were 2 years in between Adultolescence and Dandelion, not 2 years between Rachel's first chunk of videos and then video about Dandelion. 2 years between books, not 2 years between reviews. Anyway, hi, sorry. So about 2 years later, Gabbie writes her second book, Dandelion, and she sends Rachel an ARC of the book for her to review. And then Rachel reviews it because that's her job. Everything is quiet. Okay, I can't find the clip, but basically Gabbie lost it on Rachel. That's where it's going. Gabbie totally loses it on Rachel. It's extremely uncalled for. All right, we don't know, whatever. Rachel didn't give her the reaction that she needed to stay trending on Twitter, so she started going after everyone else. Here are the spark notes on all of those before we kind of get into who our next leading player in all of this drama is. She goes after someone named Oscar Wilde, with a Y, not an I. Thank God. Oscar Wilde liked a tweet about her. That was it. And she went off on him. He DM'd her on Instagram to try and hash it out, but he ended up blocking her, so it didn't go particularly well. And then she went after Angelica Oles for the crime of being a commentary channel. I reckon if you're the subject of some hot goss, the commentary channels are gonna talk about it, dude. It's a popular genre. I don't know what to tell you. Then I guess Dom DeAngelis saw that she was trending, tweeted that she's one of the top 3 worst people he ever met in LA, and then she loses it on him, which honestly, it's very close to being rational, this one, because he doesn't like her because she doesn't like him because he passed her in a smash or pass video.
The Gabbie show.
The Gabbie show?
Yeah.
How would you pass on Gabbie? It's not my type, man. Shit. No, I passed on her because I feel like she'd just make fun of me too much. I'd be embarrassed. Yeah.
And like smash or pass was an awful trend, and sometimes people were really, really brutal. But not Dom, though. All he said was that she wasn't his type and that she'd probably be mean to him. And then she was mean to him. So, like, he didn't drag her looks, but she really went for his throat, dude. So then we hit, I guess, like, the climax of all of this, right? Last year it was high school fucking bullies. This year it is Trishgate. She goes after Trisha Paytas, which a year ago might have worked. But 2021 is kind of Trisha's year. The character development we've seen from them is unmatched. And the beef between Gabbie and Trisha actually goes back a few years, but we're going to focus on this specific situation and then just kind of fill in the gaps where we need to. Either towards the end of 2020 or towards the beginning of 2021, I don't know. Trisha went on Gabbie's podcast, Burnout, to hash things out. and it's very uncomfortable to watch. The two of them are very much not on the same wavelength. They both say things that don't make any fucking sense. And like the fact that Gabbie is smoking pot while Trisha has seemingly done every drug except for pot is not, it's not helping. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it, but I don't think they hashed out shit. It was very fun seeing the two of them in a room together though. And I guess the day the podcast went up, Trisha did make a video, but I didn't see that until I was doing research for this video a couple days ago. But I'm gonna bring up everything she said in the video anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So Trisha posts a TikTok about Gabbie, doesn't mention her name, but we all know that it's about Gabbie.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Hope you're well. Let's talk about something. Let's talk about protecting your energy and reserving your energy for the right people. Now, I have seen one particular creator recently really go off about this, and I'm not gonna like say who this creator is because like, we don't vibe necessarily, but this is like, it's kind of like saddening to me. If someone doesn't like or appreciate or get what you're doing, whether that be music, fashion, dancing, YouTube, TikToks, poetry, like podcast, whatever it is, if someone doesn't like it, like they're entitled not to like it. Like, why go so hard to try and convince someone that they're wrong for not liking something you do? And allowing people to get to you because they dislike something you do is ultimately a disservice to yourself, robbing you of your creative capabilities. This goes for everyone. Be proud of what you put out, and who cares about the rest?
That's when Gabbie sets her sight on Trisha, pulls the trigger, and it completely backfires on her. Gabbie's big claim is that Trisha is gaslighting her because Trisha says the two of them were never friends, and Gabbie swears up and down that they were friends. Gabbie then posts receipts in the form of text messages where Trisha is saying that they're friends. But she'd have a really convincing case if the screenshots were recent. But the texts are from 2017. And a few months after this text exchange, Gabbie and Trisha get into their first, like, public fight. All right, I'm an idiot. I messed up again. Okay, their falling out happened in 2019, not in 2017. So not a few months, it was like 2 years. Whoops. To me, when I read these texts, they're indicative of a friendship that was forming. Like, it seems like they're friendly, and it seems like they like each other. But it doesn't seem like they really know each other. They seem more like friendly acquaintances than friends. And then bing, bang, boom, Gabbie tells Trisha's boyfriend that Trisha has herpes. And Trisha doesn't have herpes. So it's a little bit of a deal breaker in a friendship, huh? That is why this person doesn't like you. And I know that it's come out fairly recently that Shane Dawson is the one who started the rumor. The point still stands that if Gabbie and Trisha were friends at this point, why would Gabbie go to Mr. Nash instead of Trisha? It's because they were never friends. There's also the Thanksgiving conversation where Gabbie says that Trisha invited her over for Thanksgiving, and Trisha says she did no such thing. And then Gabbie says, stop gaslighting me. And then Trisha says, what are you talking about? And then Gabbie says, oh, my bad. Sorry, I looked at the text and you're right. Nothing about the texts even implied that they did have plants. It's not an important detail, especially since Gabbie sent her the voice message saying, my bad.
Something I was wrong about was, like, we definitely did not have Thanksgiving plans.
But I will say, like, as somebody with mental health issues myself, I also have a little bit of an issue with thinking that I'm closer to people than I really am. Got a lot of people I refer to as friends are probably more so close acquaintances. It's just easier to say friend. I don't know. I want to have buddies. While we're on the topic of mental health, I think it's a good time just to go into segment 2, the mental health discussion. Brains. So Gabbie has recently been diagnosed with adult ADHD, and she's been fairly open about a PTSD diagnosis as well. That's a bitch of a diagnosis. Source, fucking same, girl. It sucks. Every day is like 1,000 times more difficult than it should be, and sometimes it's hard to find the mental capacity necessary to rationalize things correctly. When you fly off the handle, you're flying spirit, baby. I'm talking tray tables the size of your cell phone. It's horrible. It's really fucking horrible. And I do feel for her. It is not an easy diagnosis to cope with. Right now, in my real world, I'm having a little bit of a crazy struggle with my PTSD and depression right now, because I straight up ran out of antidepressants to try. My psychiatrist said, shoot, when the last one didn't work. For ADHD, I do take Vyvanse, but even that's not always a viable solution, because if I'm not focused on the thing I need to be focusing on when that shit kicks in, I'm gonna lose my whole day.
And it's gone.
What?
It's gone. It's all gone.
I need to like plan like when I'm gonna take it, and then 20 minutes later I need to be on my computer or whatever the fuck, you know? So yeah, dude, it's really hard, and I understand that it's really hard, but being neurodivergent is not easy, and trauma is really hard too. But it does not give you an excuse to mistreat people, especially when some of those people are literally just doing their jobs. Rachel and Angelica are literally just at work. Like, Rachel reviews books, Angelica does commentary, and it's not personal. And the gag is that I know that it feels like it is. I also have a very, very hard time with rejection sensitivity. Pretty bad. I hate criticism. I hate all of it. I hate it so much. I even hate the constructive good kind. I even hate it when it sounds like it's coming from the damn Sugar Plum Fairy herself. I hate it. I hate criticism, and I hate failure, and I hate feeling like I'm letting people down or like I'm not on the top of my game. But I've learned to not take that out on people. And I don't want anyone to take this to mean that I don't get angry about it, or that I don't dramatically sob on my bed like a Disney princess about it, or that I don't write very, very, very strongly worded journal entries about it, because I do all of those things, but I don't lash out at people who criticize my work because it's not personal. I've learned to take what serves me, and then just cry a lot about the rest. When I bomb on stage, and boy, sometimes I do, I'm not going to take it out on the audience. I'm going to do one of two things, right? I'm going to either chalk it up to a rough night and a rough audience if it's a bit that I've thoroughly worked out that I know is good, or I'm going to go home, I'm going to rework the bit, and I'm going to fucking fix it. Criticism sucks, but there really is always room for improvement, and yeah, you get better by listening to it. You just do. I think it's important to think of Gabbie's mental health issues as a reason for why she's doing this, but not as an excuse. When she comes off of this episode, and she will, I hope she's willing to make amends and extend apologies where she needs to, because I think having a public meltdown this nuclear is going to carry consequences that she doesn't want. And as a passive viewer of her content, I don't want that either. I don't want Gabbie Hanna to lose everything. I just want her to learn, you know? I want her to learn about her brain chemistry, and I want her to learn effective coping strategies for how to deal with them. I want her to recognize the signs that she's about to break down, and I want her to know how to handle it in a healthy way. I know this isn't the most popular opinion at the moment, but I do think that there's a good person in there. I just think it's trapped inside of all this mess. And I think it's a mess that she's capable of cleaning up, but she's got to take it really seriously. And like I said, I'm coming from a place where I get it. Very similar up here. And the last thing I want to say in the mental health segment, she's absolutely pulling this stunt for attention, but I think she is having a breakdown. I think it can be both. Gabbie Hanna's success as a creator is undeniable, right? Like, in spite of all of the scandal, she has an extremely devoted fan base. They absolutely adore her. She's still pulling in just racks on her books, dude. 2-time New York Times bestseller. Fuck, dude. Whether or not her art is good is gonna be subjective. And I think it would really benefit her to just let that concept sink in. When you release your work to the general public, be it a song, a poem, a painting, whatever, it's going to garner criticism. And that criticism is not going to be all sunshine and rainbows as much as we might wish it could be. It would be one thing if Rachel or Angelica or whoever else went to like an open mic night and saw Gabbie Hanna reading out some new poetry and then they went home and made a hit piece on it. Like that would be fucked up. But that isn't what happened. Rachel critiqued poems in books that were New York Times bestsellers, right? It can't get more public than that. Like, people hated Twilight, but that is a monster of a franchise. I would never go after the one video that Gabbie has of herself doing stand-up. She did it once. She did it for fun. I don't think she charged money for it, and if money was charged for it, I'm sure it was for, like, a comedy showcase with other people. Like, that's fine. Comedy's hard. It's hard to get up there and do it. Like, I very much commend her for it, and a few of the things she said actually hit a little bit. But if Gabbie Hanna had a Netflix comedy special and it was bad, I would say that. Like, Amy Schumer's Leather special sucked, and I'll say it. So that's the rub, right? When you're putting your work out and you're profiting from it, criticism is gonna happen, and it's not gonna be 100% positive reception. Gabbie is neurodivergent. She has ADHD, which can carry some very intense rejection sensitivity and can make managing emotions very difficult. And while that's definitely a reason to lash out at criticism, it's not an excuse to be hurtful. And it's definitely not an excuse to use your Patreon pledges to try and strong-arm your critics. Stop that. My hope for her is that she can learn and grow. I'm not about to say this to be rude and condescending and like just take yourself off the internet, but I think she wants to be an artist. She wants to be a creative. I think she, at this point, is successful enough that she could step away from the internet and focus completely on her art. And I think that would be the best thing for her. It would give her so much practice. Like, that's how you get better, right? Like, by just doing it. So I think, not in a petty, like, get offline kind of way, but like I think it would very much benefit you to maybe like hire someone to manage your social media so that you can focus explicitly on your work. I feel that as a creative too. I'd love to get myself into a place where I don't have to post things on the internet to like reach people outside of my community, you know? And I do think stepping away from the internet would be good for her, because she kind of is becoming the monster that's been here all along. I'm so sorry. I had to. I'm sorry. Anyway, I hope you guys liked my first commentary video on this new channel. I'll catch you on the flip.